You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, featuring the Bearded Wonder Zane Paisley, Sign Guy, Drew Skills, and the Morning Star, William Huckabee.
The Undisputed Wrestling Show is now.
What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday, which means the Undisputed Wrestling Show is back. You have tuned in, you've downloaded. We have got a great show for you tonight. I am here, I am on board. This is Drew Skills. You are rocking with the best. And I got a couple guys riding with me tonight. Let me introduce you to our other co-hosts. We have the Bearded Wonder, Lord Zane Paisley. How you doing, brother?
I am completely and emotionally wrecked, but I'm going to have to get through this episode.
Yes. And then we also have Kevin Sullivan's very favorite referee, the guy that Kevin Sullivan says the best ref he's ever been in the ring with. If you don't believe me, check our archives. You can hear it for yourself. We have Sign Guy here with us. How you doing, Sign Guy?
Doing very well this evening, Drew.
Awesome. We have a great show, just like every other week, lined up for you guys tonight. I'm very happy about this episode, very excited, really looking forward to talk to this guy. So let's jump right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, our very first guest here on the Undisputed Wrestling Show tonight on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. This guy has gone by a couple different monikers. Some people know him as the American Kickboxer. Some people know him as Izzy High. Some people know him as the head sensei at Rage Dojo. I call him my friend. I call him my brother. We have the American Kickboxer on the line with us tonight. How are you doing, my brother?
Oh, I am doing so great, man. Hey, thanks for the wonderful introduction, and man, the times we've had, my friend.
we have had several of those. Well, tell us a little bit. We'd like to introduce you to our audience here, our listeners, and let them know exactly how you got started and when you got started and what got you started in the crazy, wacky world of professional wrestling.
Well, I had seen my first match in 1977, her first live match, and pardon me, the main event was the original Sheik versus Pampero Firpo, and I knew from that moment on that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And as you know, I had kind of a difficult teenage childhood. I was on my own at the age of 14 years old and was homeless, and through the grace of God, I found an independent show when I was visiting some family in Kentucky, and there was a few really decent guys there, but there was some really shady con artists who had said that they would train me to be a wrestler, and I hitchhiked actually to set up their rings and tear down their rings just for some guy to beat the shit out of me for a little bit and call it training. But they told me when I came back up north, if I would just contact Al Snow with their training, I could go right to work for Al. So I had came back up north and I contacted Al, and he told me come up to the gym, and I came to Al's gym and found out very quickly that I had been taken by these guys down south. And because Al at that time had more wrestling knowledge under his fingernail than I had in my whole body. And he told me I just needed to learn how to wrestle. And through chance, I happened to be in a bar one night, and they were doing karaoke, and one of the guys who was doing karaoke was saying that he was about to get signed with the WWF. And so I asked this guy where he was training at, and it turned out he was training with one of these con artists that was down south. So I said, I'll be there tomorrow, because I was going in with full intentions of beating this guy's ass, because he had taken me so badly, him and a few other guys. But when I walked into the gym, this guy starts putting me over. Oh, you guys got to see this guy. He's so good, blah, 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 blah. And blew my ego up. And that night I actually wrestled on a show for him, but that's also where I had met Tarek. A little further down the line of that story, this guy had said, hey, my good friend Les Thatcher's going to come in and we're all going to have jobs at Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And the first day that Les walked into the gym, he called this guy a fucking liar, a con artist, and everything else, and ran him out of his own gym. And Les became the trainer from that point on. So I was very fortunate to fall into those circumstances. I give the credit of my training to Les Thatcher, Tracy Smothers, Bull Payne, and Rip Rogers, because those are the guys that actually took the time and dedicated their time to helping me learn the business correctly.
Well, those are all really good brothers and really good guys to learn from, all guys that are, known in the industry as guys that have helped people out and, are wealths of knowledge. You mentioned Tarek there. You and Tarek, were known for hitting the scene and tearing it up and doing things as cruiserweights that most people hadn't seen. Tell us a little bit about that.
At the time, and this will sound crazy to most, but there wasn't guys under 200 pounds on wrestling shows. And when I met Tarek, I knew from the moment that him and I locked up that if I was going to do anything in this business and vice versa, it was going to be with each other. So, I moved from where I was living at to Reading, Ohio, to Hamilton, Ohio, to train exclusively with Tarek. And we were kind of like, they used to have the midget matches, or you'd have Andre come in, or the women. That's kind of the way Tarek and I were on the independents. We were like the special attraction and things like that. So we kind of came up with our own mix and, heavily influenced from Mexico and Japan as well. And, both of us had a work ethic and would beat the shit out of each other if necessary, to get what we needed and what we wanted out of not only the match, but the crowd. And, we learned the business just working. That's the way it was. When I got started, we were told that, until you had 7 years experience, you weren't even considered a wrestler at that time. And that meant 3 to 5 nights a week on the road. So that's what we did.
Right on. Where did, you guys being on the road and doing those things and working as cruiserweights, kind of, a new to the scene type of thing, where all did that take you guys?
Everywhere. Everywhere, actually, man. Tarek made it to Japan even. So, yeah, we were fortunate because, there wasn't too many other guys like that. So once the way our name got truly out was through Rip Rogers and through Bull Payne. And I'll tell you the story of meeting Bull. All right. And this will tell you kind of what the scene was like. But, the first time that Tarek and I had walked into a dressing room and Bull was there, he said, "What the fuck is this? Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. What is this?" And he's pointing at me. And I come from the juvenile hall and everything else. I'm like, oh, fuck, man, this guy's testing me, I don't want to have to fight this big motherfucker. He's going to kill me. So he just kept going and going. Hey, what the fuck is this? Blah, 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 blah. And Tarek and I went and did our match. And as I was coming back to the dressing room, Bull met us in the hallway, and I was like, oh, shit, here it goes. And Bull said, "Hey, listen, guys, I'm a fucking asshole. You guys went out there and you really did something." He said, "Stay by your phones. I'm going to have you more work than you're going to know what to do with." And true to his word, he kept his word to the umpteenth degree. The next, I think 3 weeks later, we were flying to Jackson, Mississippi for us, just on Bull's word. So, yeah.
Right on. Well, all of that, if I'm not mistaken, was done as American Kickboxer versus Tarek the Great, and then moving on, you took on another persona, Easy High in Memphis. Tell us how that worked out.
Well, Easy High it started out as a joke a long time ago. with Tarek and I riding in a car with another wrestler, Tower of Doom. And we were joking around. If we could do a different gimmick or anything like that, what would we do? And the Kickboxer gimmick was really rigid. You understand what I mean? It had to be rigid to be believable. You know, you wouldn't see Bruce Lee do a comp, basically. You know, so my idea was something comedic and everything a play of words back to marijuana. So I got to Memphis, and the promoter there, they were doing like the ECW style, and he wanted something more gimmicky than American Kickboxing. So I had that idea, and formed the team of Weed, Wrestling's Extreme Execution Daredevils, with Dr. Bud Ganja and Motley Garcia, managed by the Valet Shrimp. And man, we did one promo. It was so fun. And I had said on Memphis television, if you show up on Beale Street, you're going to get all the weed you need. So we had all kinds of people show up in the middle of Beale Street, and you know, they're chanting, weed, 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 weed. Turn the fucking camera on. Here we go. And you know, it wrote itself from there. You know, it had gotten to the point to where the Izzy High character in the weed gimmick had gotten complaints from, the accusation was made that the Lawlers Company was complaining about the gimmicks and everything else, but what was happening was our promotion was burying Lawler's promotion in the ring. So what happened was they moved our time slot, which I thought was suicide. I thought we were dead in the water. But they put us on at 11 o'clock at night, at Saturday night. Now, what I didn't understand was at 10 o'clock, Soul Train came on. And every bar in Memphis, no matter what, they had dancing on the TV, whether the sound was up or the sound was down. And our ratings went through the roof from there.
Awesome. You, like I talked about in the intro there a little bit, and obviously you've had a very rich career as a pro wrestler and well-traveled. I met you when you had switched roles a little bit and was now training guys. Tell us about the transition and what got you started passing on your knowledge.
I had done a show for Joe Bailey, rest in peace. And a young man by the name of Isaiah was on the show. And he had said to me, could you watch my match? I'm like, sure. And he said, there's just something I'm not getting here, something I'm not figuring out. So I watched his match, and Isaiah became my first student from there because he asked if I could train him. And I sat and thought about it for a minute. And I had started teaching martial arts at a young age, and the year he asked me, I had spent, it was in 1999. I had already spent 9 years in the business, mostly 3 to 5 nights a week on the road. So I figured I was qualified for that. And from there, he took off. You know what I mean? The gimmick, his work, and everything else took off. And I started doing seminars from there. Trying to pass on the things that are so sorely forgotten or missed in today's market, I think. You know. So
right on.
I think you should start a drinking game for every time I say you know. Everybody'd be hammered at this point. I'm trying to change. But anyhow, fortunately, I had worked in enough promotions and everything that I could take my students to these promotions and train them before the shows, and promoters could look at them before the shows. And they basically learned the business the same way that Tarek and I did, just on the road working it and working as hard as you could. And nothing was given to us. We had to earn every bit of it. And any one of my students, I'll say they earned everything they got. And They truly did.
Right on, right on. Well, I was at one of those places that you would bring your students after they got seasoned and got some road underneath them. You'd bring them back to one of the guys who helped got you started, which was Les Thatcher, where I was at, and you'd bring your guys over there. And that's a funny story because some of those guys now, when I razz them about their first time in front of Les, but you stuck me with the biggest prank in professional wrestling by dropping off Apollo Star, and I've had this guy for 13 years now. All because of you, Kickboxer. I've had him for 13 years. Look after this kid. 13 years later, we're still together.
No. Actually, he said we got to save Drew from that other partner he had. Right.
Well, you brought those guys around, man, and they really got honed. You had some really good students. Just to name some of them, just like you said, Isaiah, Apollo Star, Scotty Vortex, Drake Younger, Dave Davison. The list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Cross, OMG.
Yes,
that was
definitely.
just in Indianapolis. That was just the Indianapolis crew. If you go to the Detroit crew, and where I had worked with Truth Martini, we've got Kid Hybrid, Chris McGinnis, Jeff Brooks, Tadarius Thomas. Again, the list goes on and on and on and on. I trained guys up there for a long term as well. Right
on, and I was lucky enough, man. I want to thank you publicly here tonight. You were the first guy to take me up to Detroit and introduced me to Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe. So that really opened up a huge avenue for me. So I greatly appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. I cannot say enough good things about Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe because he was one of the first promoters who seen something in Tarek and I. And he just said, I'm giving you guys the ball. Do with it what you will. I know you guys know what you're doing. And created the Lucha Libre division, his promotion, just specifically for Tarek. And the breaks that we had gotten through Sweet Daddy, I mean, we ended up I'm the first match ever in JCW history, Juggalo Championship Wrestling, on JCW Volume 1 versus the Iron Sheik, just because of Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And Sweet Daddy was awesome as well. And, I could sit here and we could go on and on and on for hours and hours, Kick, because we have had several hours on the road together, but I don't want to hog the conversation tonight, so I'm going to pass it on over. We are the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. And I'm going to pass it over to the sign guy, Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee, the referee that Kevin Sullivan said the best referee's ever been in the ring with. Don't believe me, check it out in the archives. Sign guy does owe me 10% for that moniker, but go ahead, sign guy.
Checks in the mail. American Kickboxer, you go back quite a ways in the Indianapolis area, and one of the promotions I saw you wrestle in quite a while ago, you were in Dan Garza's old PWI promotion, which had television. How important was it for yourself and some of the other wrestlers in that area to have local television to get that experience wrestling for a television company, whether they wanted to go to the big scene or continue on with the independents? How instrumental was it to have a forum where you could learn how to work for television?
We were trained to work for television, man. Les Thatcher and the guys that I trained with, they trained us for television. You got to understand, the shows that I was at was, Smoky Mountain, where if you just kept your mouth shut and sat there, you were going to learn something. So Dan's promotion, I'm not going to say anything negative. It opened up a door for us to go other places. We were fortunate to be seen by Rip Rogers there. on TV, and he said, "What are you guys doing wasting your time there? They don't know how to use you guys." And we started with Mike Samples shortly following that in Circle City, where we were working with then Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Rip Rogers. But again, Mike Samples just gave Tarek and I the spotlight and said, "Do what you will with it." And we sat under the learning tree, because after a match, we would think that we had just done so great and awesome, and we're patting each other on the back, and we just get ripped, pointing his finger and leading us outside. And we'd go outside, and he'd browbeat the shit out of us. Yeah. And he was right. He was right with everything he said. But understand, he didn't do that in front of the boys. He didn't try to embarrass you. He didn't try to make himself seem like something bigger. He was he treated us very well in that aspect.
I know in your career you have had your fair share of concussions, and that's become something that's been in the news a lot lately because of the medical knowledge improving on how severe concussions can be long term. The larger companies now have concussion protocols, and they're very diligent when it comes to wrestlers that have suffered them and trying to get back into the ring. What's your thoughts on the current mindset for wrestling promotions nationally as it relates to concussions? And do you think if there were protocols in place when you were starting out that your career may have been a little bit different?
To answer the first question, I don't think about those things. I don't think about what the big company does. It doesn't affect my life. What I live with is I've had 15 known concussions. I've broken my neck twice. I suffer seizures on a daily basis, tremors and seizures because of these concussions, to the point that I can't actually work a 9-to-5 job because nobody will hire. Because instead of being an asset to the company, I've now become a liability. So if I was to pass any words along, it would be to be very careful, because all of us in the business were given a bump card. And every time you take a bump, it's like taking a little notch out of that card. And when that bump card's finished, you're done. So I say choose wisely and think wisely about what bumps you're going to take.
With the guys that you've trained the last several years, is that something that you talk to them about, on being choosy with what bumps they take and for whom they take them and so forth?
Sure, but of course, like any young guys and like any child, they're going to have to go out there and learn for themselves. They're not going to listen to me. I'm foolish. I just can't do it anymore. I'm a fool. I don't know what I'm talking about. But just like your father or your parents, there's going to be that light that goes on, and you're like, holy shit, he knew what he was talking about. Boy, I wish I would have listened. Yeah. But those guys, they did their own thing. And all I could do is just like any good parent, hope the best for them. That makes sense?
It does. I'm going to pass things over now to the Bearded Wonder, one of the best ring announcers on the independent circuit right now, Zane Paisley.
Well, thank you so much. This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, where you can enjoy fresh podcasts just about every day of the week for professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. You can check us out at AngryMarks.com /podcast. You can also check out the Undisputed Wrestling Show at www.theundisputedwrestlingshow.weebly.com. We have on with us American Kickboxer and Izzy High. Now, Kickboxer, we'd mentioned IPW earlier. I did have a chance to see you there as Izzy High, and you put on a great match. I think it was against Scotty Vortex. This was a few years ago. And okay. I recently have gotten to be good friends with Apollo Q Star and Dave Davidson, and recently met Isaiah. You guys all speak wonderfully of the Rage Dojo. Now, you had mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I don't think that we really talked about it enough. You know, how did you decide that you were going to start training these guys, and how did you come up with your curriculum?
Through trial and error. I learned the things on the road. Does that make sense? It's, okay, I did this one time and I screwed myself up, so let's not do that. And took the teachings from the senseis that I had, as I mentioned, Bull Payne, Tracy Smothers, Les Snatcher, Rip Rogers. And I took the things the same as the foundation of Jeet Kune Do. Do you know what Jeet Kune Do is?
No, I'm sorry, not familiar.
Okay, Jeet Kune Do was Bruce Lee's practice. That was the martial arts that he founded. And the principle of it was take away anything that's unnecessary. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And just apply what is necessary, and the things that you can use, and discard the rest. And the way that I teach is kind of that way. I take something from what Bull taught me, things that Les taught me, things that I learned amateur wrestling, and apply these things. To the point that when I would have a crop of students, just like Drew had said, at one time I'd bring the students to Les to get the stamp of approval, because just like any true art, you have kind of an apprenticeship. If you're a tattoo artist, you go through an apprenticeship under an artist better than you. I wanted my senseis to give me that stamp of approval. So I knew that I wasn't like those guys who had ripped me off down south years ago. To the point that I would bring in my senseis into my gyms and have them teach seminars and things like that. So we play it forward at the same time. What was that, eh?
I'm not sure. I'm still on here with you. I forgot to mention Dave Davidson, who's a great guy, and he currently wrestles a little bit, and mainly as a referee that I know of right now. Another great student of yours. But your most famous student would have to be Drake Younger, who now goes as Drake Wirtz in the WWE NXT program, and he's a referee there. What were your thoughts when he went from all the crazy death matches to being a referee in the biggest promotion in the world?
First he had went from the death matches to actually going back and almost creating a hybrid of death match wrestling. Whoa, what is that noise? But I'm very proud of Drake. Because of the company he's in and things like that, he can't acknowledge me publicly. Because I am truly a free spirit. I don't give a shit one way or another what the WWE thinks of me. Vince McMahon can lick my sweaty balls for all I fucking care, you know. But, oh well, you know, 2 tears in a bucket, man. For real. What's he gonna do? Take away my fucking birthday? Huh?
Well, just your conversation. You've mentioned Rip Rogers being a huge influence on you, and I actually just got a chance to see Rip again this past weekend, and a couple months ago I had an extensive conversation, and that just you guys are definitely 2 peas in a pod.
Well,
and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The thing of it is I trained a guy to go to that level without a guidebook, without any kind of sponsorship, and apparently I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the proof is in the students that actually listen to what the fuck I say. So if you refuse to give me knowledge or acknowledge me in public because of my life, well, guess what? I was Izzy High before Drake ever fucking met. And so, as I said, 2 tears in a bucket. I wish him well, and I'm very proud of him, but I give 2 shits about the company he keeps.
Okay. I'm going to pass it along to Will Huckabee here in just one moment for a few more questions. We really appreciate your time. Before I do that,
my pleasure,
how can our listeners follow what you're doing right now? Do you have social media or anything like that?
Well, yeah. I've been doing stand-up comedy and music. Traveled the country doing that. I'm right now in the process of writing another movie script. I've written one movie script that we will probably never sell, but the one that I'm working on now is looking really good, as well as a couple television shows. I could actually change TNA right now with one of my television shows. I could actually get them ratings and make them actually fucking mean something in this country, but nah, they'll stick with what's failed so far. But if people want to contact me, they can, first check out my album on YouTube. It's Izzy High, Pop Art 13. That's a release that I put out. It's music, stand-up comedy, and a bit of political thoughts and humor. But you can also reach me on Facebook at Real Izzy High. Some alter ego of mine, the multiple personalities I have. Some guy named Frank Mullins runs that because the bastards at Facebook refused to believe I was born with the name Izzy High. But so they can reach me there, Real Izzy High on Facebook.
Excellent. I'm going to pass it along to the star of...
Hold on a second, man. I truly feel like the blunt in the fucking room. Are you guys at least passing to the fucking left here? Because you guys keep passing me the fuck around, man. Somebody cough, somebody sell, somebody do something, sure.
Well, we've got a four-man team, and we all have great questions for you, hopefully.
Right on, man. It's been fun so far.
All right, the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee, what do you have for Izzy High?
Well, I just have like one or two questions and stuff. My first question is this. Mr. High, we had Kevin Sullivan on the show last week, and I asked him a question about professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. As someone who has experience with both of those, I'm asking you this question. How do you feel about, the comment that a lot of people make saying that MMA is out professional wrestling?
I had the idea to actually do worked fucking shoots. I'm trying to put that together because as well educated as the public is to MMA, I think it is absolutely foolish at this time for a lot of guys to do a lot of things they're doing when I could probably get the same reaction just grabbing a key lock. Does that make sense? And then from getting that key lock, each time that I go for that arm, that guy tries to just keep the arm away from me. Now we've got a match. I'm going after his arm. All I'm doing is trying to get that arm because once I can get that lock in, imagine how many bumps that would cut out.
So you definitely, you definitely have a point with.
Sure. And the pay-per-view buys of UFC still, it shows that the public is educated to it. The people, they want this, and if you can provide it in the package that they can buy, they're gonna buy it. Most of the time right now, and I'm gonna go off on a little rant here, these independent guys, they don't understand that their match should be just an infomercial at this point, especially on the indies because they're not making shit. They're not making money on the indies. So your match should be an infomercial for what? Your merchandise. That's where you're going to make your money. So if people are buying your gimmick, this silly thing happens, man. They'll probably buy your merchandise. It kind of goes with the word buy, huh? But back to the question at hand. MMA, if these guys would figure it out, they could completely change professional wrestling again. And it would give not only their business a little bit more longevity, it would also give the wrestlers themselves more longevity. Here's a simple concept. How about the champion gets paid more money than everybody else. So what would the goal be then for every wrestler in that promotion?
Obviously, to be the champion.
Of course. So right there, we've now put importance on the title, because if I win the championship, I'm going to be in a different tax bracket instead of using the titles as props, what they do now.
That is a great point. My next question follows along with this. Because when you first broke into the business, you know, there were really no guys under 200 pounds. And now everywhere you go and you look, the majority of most wrestling shows, especially on the indies, are guys who are under 200 pounds. And even now in the WWE, a lot of their top guys are under 200 pounds, or 205 and below. What is the difference between how you worked when you were in your prime and stuff, being under 200 pounds, in a land of quote-unquote giants, versus how a lot of the guys now work, being 200 pounds, being under 200 pounds, work with guys, you know, my size and Drew Skills' size?
Well, the thing of it is if you go to the circus, how many times do you want to see the trapeze act? Probably once, right?
Yeah, definitely just once.
Okay, so if we've got a whole show of trapeze act, you know, how is it going to keep your attention? You know, some things are so simple that are so lost right now. Most guys, when they cut a promo, they'll, let me tell you something, or blah, 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 and they're screaming and this, that, and the other. But the simplest thing is just lowering my voice just this little bit. And when I want to emphasize my point, just raise it just that little bit. That's the simplest. But the way things have changed, as I said, that, you know, 100 trapeze acts on a show that goes 13 to 15 matches long, and you know the independents can't figure out that Vince only does 3 hours, and he's got all this production, but every independent wants to run a 5-hour show. That's a bit of the difference of when I was working. Here's another thought. Every match meant something as well. If you were in the opening match, you didn't throw a punch. Well, why is that? Because in our main event, we built this up to a brawl. Why in the fuck are you going to throw a punch in the first damn match? We've been building this brawl for this long. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
So you've got every guy doing everything that they can do, getting their shit in, and it lets me know that they have no idea about 2 things. And those 2 things are fighting and fucking. All right? Meaning, if you've got a fine woman and you're wanting to romance this woman, you don't just get up and jerk off all over her chest just to get your shit in, right? No, you romance this woman. You try to take her on that ride for as long as you can take that ride, because once you bunch that nut, guess what happens? The ride's fucking over. And then you gotta fucking get you a cigarette, get a drink, take your time, and then you guess what? If you're lucky, you might be able to build it up again, but I'm old, so I gotta do it right the first time. So.
I think Drew know how that feels.
So, and that's all guys are doing, man. They're just jerking off all over everybody's fucking chest and hoping that they can get a reaction from it, instead of playing with people's emotions, building them up, setting them back down. Because once they get that nut, they're going to have to take a cigarette. They're going to have to take a break. You've seen it before just to the booking of the WrestleMania, right?
Exactly.
Where they had the real big match that was 3 matches before their main event. Well, everybody busted their nut 3 matches ago. They need to get a cigarette. They need to take a break. They need to, and then hopefully you can fucking get the crowd back on that Viagra for the main event. But they've fallen short quite a few times. But silly me, what the fuck do I know?
You're so
I know that I wouldn't have fucking put Daniel Bryan in fucking ladder matches coming right back from a broken fucking neck. I know that much. What kind of fucking morons come on.
For real? Oh, this guy makes us millions of fucking dollars. Let's kill it. Fucking geniuses. Well, I'm going to pass it back to Drew. so he just says ask you a couple of questions he has left for you. Drew, what do you have for Izzy?
I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and ask what you want in the closing, man. I've known this guy for years and years and years, and I'm just sit back enjoying these conversations that I've had over and over, my brother.
It's like riding in the back seat again, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like Zane was talking about.
I'll tell a fun story. Hold on, Drew. I'll tell a fun Drew story, all right?
Oh, no.
This is great. So as we're driving in Indianapolis, I think it was, this fucking redneck comes up beside us, fucking revving up his engine and fucking zooms by us. And he happens to get stopped at the same stop we do. I said, hey, Drew, do me a favor, man. Just step out of the back seat for a second. I opened the car door. Drew steps out. And red light and all, this guy got the fuck out of there.
Gunned it.
So that's a fun Drew story.
We have several stories, and that one, luckily, was one of the PG ones. So,
oh, come on, man.
Hey, man, Zane mentioned a little bit earlier. Rip was at a show with us on Saturday, man, and it's so different to see him in the atmosphere that he is now and where he's at in his life. Like you said before, everything was watching the matches with critiques for those who would listen and wanted to be better. They was there and an opportunity for them. Where it's now, he doesn't want to watch a match. He just wants to be there and hang out, my friend. Do any of you guys have any last questions for Izzy High, American Kickboxer, Frank Mullins?
All right. Where are you calling home now?
The road. I'm a gypsy, man. Really and truly. I spend most of my time on couches around the country trying to perform, and so I don't have really truly a home base.
Well, I saw on your Facebook page, and that is if they look up Real Izzy High or your government name, Frank Mullins. Are you getting ready to go to the Gathering of the Juggalos soon?
Oh yeah, man. That's my huge family reunion. Shout out to the JCW Gypsy Camp. Man, those are my guys. We have a blast out there every year, man. It's my giant family reunion. I owe a lot to ICP and the Juggalos, really and truly. They saved my life. And I know it sounds weird to say that, but at a time when Frank Mullins wasn't about shit, when my name had been destroyed through false charges and shit like that, Izzy High lived, and the Juggalos lifted me up. And they kept me alive, really and truly. So I have nothing but love for JCW, the Gathering, the Juggalos, the fans. That's as real as I can be.
That's awesome. And also all of our listeners need to go check out your YouTube, the Izzy High Pop Art 13. It's about 13 and a half minutes long. It's a musical and visual collage for everybody, so definitely check that out.
Well, let me give you the concept real quick behind that, okay? And I'm going to kind of out myself on this one a bit. 13 is 420 times 3. Okay. So the introduction of it went a little long, but the idea behind Pop Art 13 was with seizures. I've kind of feel the best way I can describe it sometimes is like a near-death experience, okay? And it affects my speech and it affects my physical being. So if God was to give you 13 minutes to say something to people, if you were to leave a message to the world, you've got 13 minutes to do it. And what I tried to do was the same way that I would be with any of my friends, and Drew can attest to this. I'll try to inform you as well as entertain you, because anybody can take a bump. But what the boys are missing, and I think this is why the suicide rates are so high in this business,
is what they're missing and what they're forgetting is the skills that they're developing in the wrestling business. Public speaking, being able to do it in one take, being creative, and doing it in front of a live crowd. And nowhere in any other form of entertainment can anybody say that, as well as do your own stunts. So when it kind of ended for me, I realized that I had gained the ability to truly speak and to be able to convey. Did I want my legacy to be that, oh, he took a great bump and wow, he could do this or wow, he could do that? Or do I want my legacy to be something that my son can look at and say, wow, my dad actually tried to make a difference? Because all I did was try to take the spotlight that I had from wrestling, and now I've got the spotlight. What do I do with it? So if anything else, Top Art 13 is just kind of that message. And, hopefully everybody enjoys it. If, they don't enjoy it, 2 cheers in a bucket.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. This has been an enlightening conversation. I hope we weren't too rough on you, and love to have you back on again soon.
My pleasure, Drew. I love you. I hope to see you soon, man.
Right on, my brother. Love you. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, pal.
Wow, guys, that was a great interview. That was eye-opening for me.
Is he high?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
wasn't the question. I was saying his name.
This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Later on, we just got done talking to American Kickboxer / Izzy High. Coming up later on the show, we've got the New Age Dracula, Kindred Kymari, so that should be another great conversation. Next week, we got an awesome show coming up. In the second hour, we've got Rory Fox, in our main event in the first hour, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke. So it should be another great episode next week. Now, Drew, I know you've got to get going here pretty soon, but I did want to introduce our new segment, the Undisputed Game of Thrones show. So, Hodor. We will get talking about wrestling here soon, and Will and Sign Guy, do you guys watch Game of Thrones at all?
I've never seen such a game.
Oh man, you guys are missing out.
No, but hey, Zane.
Yes, sir.
It's so funny that y'all named this Game of Thrones because I read the first book from Game of Thrones, and so I wanted to read all of them because the first book was so good. And this past weekend at PWX, we all did a show and stuff, Pro Wrestling Experience. A really good friend of mine, her name is Elon and stuff. She's a student, trainee of George South and stuff. Actually bought me the entire collection of the Game of Thrones series, and so I restarted reading book 1. So don't give me any spoilers or whatever, okay? From now on, I'm starting to read the books.
I mean,
what? He's in book 1 and we can't give him no spoilers?
Exactly.
They've only been out for like 17 years.
20 years. 1996 is the first book was released.
So we got to talk about 2 quick things, and this isn't going to spoil much for you because you're not even anywhere near. And when you get near it, then you'll have already forgotten this conversation. Drew and I just discovered that we're both Game of Thrones fans, and I thought I was a fan. Drew is a mega fan. He's a huge fan. Have all sorts of great theories. One of the questions I had asked Drew was if he thought that the Night King, who is the leader of the others, if he was somebody that's a recent character or not, and you'd said that he was ancient, and then this week it was confirmed. What were your thoughts, Drew, when the Children of the Forest showed how the Night King was made?
I did not see that part coming. The fact that they are the ones that started that whole thing it's one of those just huge ironies in storytelling where, the main villain is only there because of the people that he's after in the first place. They're the ones that create him, kind of an Ultron type of deal for you Avengers fans and comic book fans. They created him to help them in their war. And it turns out they were a much greater threat than anything they could have imagined from the enemies that they created them for.
Yes. And if our listeners want to get out their hankies right now, hold the door. Hold the door, Drew.
Hold the door. You know, it's funny. I was, and sorry, listeners, if you're strictly wrestling fans, but Game of Thrones happens to be the best show on television right now, and that's what's going on. But I was listening to a podcast. I happen to like podcasts. Go figure. Game of Thrones, and you know, it's funny, Zane. There was a guy in 2014 who posted a blog. The guy worked on the same floor as George R.R. Martin. On wherever in the world George R.R. Martin was working, but the guy worked on the second floor, and they were going to the elevator, and I don't remember which one of them said it, either this guy who posted the blog or George R.R. Martin had said, hold the door. And the guy was a huge book fan, had read the books. Of course, the books, like we just said, came out 20 years ago. So Hodor has, been prominent this whole time. And the guy said, hold the door. Is that Hodor? And George R. Martin laughed at him and said, you don't know how close you are. And this guy posted this, and now it's resurfaced, of course. But 2 years ago, this guy had the theory because he was getting on an elevator with George R. Martin.
All right, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I've seen it all on, because of course I'm a huge social media whore and stuff, and I've seen this whole hold the door, like all over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Don't ask if you don't want spoilers.
I was trying not to spoil anything for you 20 years later.
Just tell me, because it kills me, because none of my friends can really explain it to me, so please explain. What is this hold the door phenomenon, please?
Well, here's the thing. If you haven't been watching the show, it's kind of hard. Brandon Stark, young Bran Stark, not only is he a warg, but he's a green seer, meaning not only can he skin change and warg into another human or animal, but he have green dreams, which means he goes back to the past and watch things that have happened. It's a time paradox thing where he went back before and he's seen Hodor's real name is Willis. He was a regular kid, kind of.
Drew, let me interrupt there. Not only can he see what's happened in the past, he can influence it as well.
Well, that wasn't confirmed until the last episode.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
That wasn't confirmed until this happened. But he's learning from the Three-Eye Raven how to control these green dreams, how to learn from these green dreams, and how to ultimately the end game is to defeat these White Walkers, which we found out were created by the Children of the Forest. So he goes on a rogue mission on his own to Green Dream and get some information, and he ends up being touched by the Night King, who leaves his mark on him. He's only safe because of this magic that's holding him in this safe place. But now that the Night King has touched him and left his mark, now they're no longer safe. So the Three-Eye Raven is trying to fast forward him through all this information that he's going to need. And while they were green dreaming, and in the past, in the old Winterfell, before his father, Ned Stark, was about to be sent off to the Eyrie, the Night King shows up and they attack. The army of the dead attack to kill the Greenseers, the Three-Eye Raven and Bran Stark. So the girl that's there with him, who's trying to help him out, and of course Hodor, she's screaming, "Wake up, wake up!" He's in the green dream, and he's trying to get him to wake up because she needs him to warg into Hodor, who's this big, of course, if you know who Hodor is, one of the most beloved characters on Game of Thrones. The only thing he says is Hodor, and he's a big gentle giant type of guy. So he wargs into him. Now he becomes this big super weapon and can beat up people as well as carry Bran out of the imminent danger. So she's screaming to warg into Hodor. Now, while he's green seeing, he hears this. So this is where it gets really crazy. He hears her screaming, "We need you to warg into Hodor." Where he's at, young Hodor is there, Willis. is there where the scene that he's dreaming, the scene that he's watching Hodor is there. The three-eyed raven, obviously, who knows pretty much everything, knows that they're under attack, knows, hey, oh shit, this is the end. Listen to your friend, he tells Bran. So he hears him say, warging to Hodor. So Bran actually wargs into not only Hodor, who's there with his body, green dreaming, the big, gentle giant, but he also wargs into the child Hodor, Willis, who's in the green dream. So as they're fleeing from the army of the dead, Mira is screaming at Hodor, hold the door, hold the door. They get out the back door, and she needs him to hold the door while she runs, dragging Bran's body on the little ramp to get away from the army of the dead. So she's screaming, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door. And that's coming through Bran to the young Willis, and it fries his freaking brain, and all he knows is Hodor, hold the door.
Ah, gotcha.
It was incredibly sad. It was incredibly sad, because in the past, the big people that have been killed, and I'm not going to spoil this for you, they at least had some part in why they were dying and this sort of thing. But this guy, we don't see Hodor, his ultimate fate, but we see how he was turned in from a lovely young child into a guy that says Hodor, and that's it, and just takes orders from the Starks. Not that they're mean to him or anything, but it's just, it's very sad. Very, very sad scene. So, all right. Drew, is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap up, the Undisputed Game of Thrones show?
The Undisputed Game of Thrones, I'm enjoying it. Just a small segment. Sign Guy, you gotta get caught up on your Game of Thrones so you can get in on this with us.
I feel like I learned so much just in the first ever edition of the Undisputed Game of Thrones.
Well, I want to give you guys a homework assignment. A couple years ago, I had mentioned Breaking Bad was the biggest pop culture phenomenon at that time, and how pro wrestling, our theories on how pro wrestling can learn from that. So if you guys do a little bit of research and come up with some ideas, maybe next week or next couple of weeks when we have a few minutes, we can talk about, how Game of Thrones as a pop culture juggernaut, how pro wrestling, specifically WWE, but also TNA and Ring of Honor, how they can learn from that and build better storylines, that sort of thing. So just geeking out for a few minutes. All right, Drew, do you need to take off tonight?
I do need to take off. I want to thank you guys for another great show, very entertaining, and I look forward to next week, fellas.
Do you have anything coming up this Memorial Day weekend?
I have, my kids are here. As I've mentioned, I believe on the show, I'm just a couple years out of a divorce, so I got my kids summertime. So my kids are here, and I have the weekend off. I'm just going to spend some time hanging out with them.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks so much for being on with us tonight. We look forward to talking to you next week.
See you, fellas.
All right. Will, what's been going on in your world lately?
Man, let me tell you something. This weekend was the weekend I named the Hanging with Bob weekend. Bob being Brutal Bob Evans and stuff. And so, excuse me, like I said last week's show, Friday night, I was on a show with Brutal Bob at PWF, Premier Wrestling Federation in Hubert, North Carolina. Saturday, I did the first of two Brutal Bob seminars at the Carolina Wrestling Academy, which is the wrestling training school of Steve Corino. Then I did, the PWX show Saturday night. Sunday, I was in Turnersville at this great training facility run by Josh Gary, USIWF. We did the second Brutal Bob seminar, and then there was a internet TV taping, whatever you want to call it. Learned so much from Brutal Bob in those 2 days. Him, his assistant, Wildman Congo. He actually brought in, he actually had two young guys, two very green guys travel with him. One of them, his name was Royal from the Monster Factory, a really great guy. And then there was another gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he's one of Biff Busick's trainees and stuff. They both travel with Bob and Wildman Congo to both of these seminars and stuff. Learned so much, can't put over Brutal Bob enough. It was the amount of information that he gave was so incredible. A lot of times, and especially guys who are in wrestling, the older wrestlers, older vets always say you go to as many seminars as possible. And sometimes, let's just be honest, these seminars are nothing more than a money pit for promotions to bring in names, and so they'll run a seminar with this name to kind of lessen their costs that they have to pay. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, a Bob Evans seminar is worth the price of admission and more. Just listening to him talk about professional wrestling and how to make money in professional wrestling was worth the money I spent for both the seminars. And unlike a lot of guys and stuff, Bob actually got in the ring and actually worked with the guys hands-on. He did a lot of one-on-one instruction with a lot of the guys and stuff, man. And then, of course, there was matches, and he was giving critiques. Him and Wildman Congo were giving, moves or whatever, and giving guys ideas. So it was a really good instructional weekend for me this weekend.
Well, very cool. Very cool. That sounds awesome. You have any events coming up this weekend?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Saturday, I will be in Cornelia, Georgia. We'll be wrestling at the Church of Southern Wrestling in Cornelia, Georgia for While We Wrestle. Me and my buddy Joe Black will be in we're having our first round match for the While We Wrestle Tag Team Tournament. And then Sunday, I will be wrestling the Stro for a brand new company in Winston-Salem for Johnny and June's, at Johnny and June's in Winston-Salem. I'm sorry. It's called RWA, first ever show and stuff, man. They have it seems like a lot until, fans actually get in the building. I think they have 11 matches scheduled. But, of course, it's not going to be like a Gabe Sapolsky ROH show where it's 11, 20-plus minute matches. The guy that's put together this show has a lot of great ideas. And just looking at the match card and stuff, it seems like 11 matches will be very long, but actually I think altogether the show is timed at 2.5 hours with 11 matches. If everybody sticks to their times and it's able to be done, it's going to be a wrestling miracle.
That sounds excellent. Sign guy, did you get all moved? Everything good in your neck of the woods?
95% of the way there. A couple odds and ends I need to bring over, but we're 95% in.
Did you get the phone hooked up?
The phone is hooked up. There were some phone shenanigans from the phone company. That was the source of my problems, but everything has been corrected.
Excellent, excellent. No, I know you got coming up this weekend, because we talked with Mr. Kevin Sullivan about it. Big Piper Palooza show at BCW.
Piper Palooza number 2. Kevin Sullivan's first ever match in the state of Oregon, if you can believe that. He'll be there for sure because I'm his ride, and I'm looking forward to it. The first one was a great experience. Last year it was in Tacoma, Washington. It was a joint effort between HPG Pro and NWA Blue Collar. Colt Toombs was there last year. Not sure if he's going to make it. I believe the family recently relocated to Nevada, but Piper Palooza 2 should be a huge event. Tickets going fast, and I think we're going to have a great crowd, definitely a great time, and Kevin Sullivan giving a seminar at 1 p.m. this coming Sunday before the big Piper Palooza 2. People from any promotion are welcome to attend. $25 get you the seminar, and as we heard every time he's been on this show, he's a wealth of knowledge.
Oh yeah, as we talked with him, he remembers what happened on Nitro in 1997, just off the top of his head. He knows more about wrestling. He's probably knows more about wrestling than anybody else out there right now, because he followed everybody. Vince McMahon doesn't know anything about independent wrestling right now, but he's still out. Sullivan's out there doing it right now. If I was anywhere near that area, I would be definitely attending. So
there's airplanes that can bring you out, Zane.
Not this weekend. I'll be going to the race.
That's true. The big 500-mile race.
Yeah, but before we get to me, will you be refereeing the main event?
That seems to be the word on the street because you forget whom is the favorite referee of the incoming big star.
Well, is that a conflict of interest? Does Petrov have a problem with that?
Petrov generally has a problem when I get in there with him. We had some altercations in the past, but ultimately, I ref him as I get thrown out through the curtain. So I'll just take it as it comes. Last year, I refereed every single match, including the HPG style matches. I believe there were 18 matches on the card last year because wrestlers kept showing up, wanting to get in on the Piper Palooza action.
Well, tell us about the scheduled main event for Piper Palooza #2 at BCW in Portland, Oregon.
Scheduled main event is a 6-man tag. It will be Falls Count Anywhere. The team of Gregor Petrov, Aries Toretta, and the man that was instrumental in Piper Palooza being a thing, Dave Havoc Hollenbeck, against the team of the West Side Connection and Kevin Sullivan.
Well, that sounds like an awesome event, and how can our listeners get tickets to that?
They can contact NWA Blue Collar Wrestling on the Twitter at Blue Collar PDX. They can find Patty Dietz, the promoter on the Book of Faces, and contact her for tickets. Or they can show up at the North Portland Eagles, 7611 North Exeter in Portland, get tickets at the door, but you want to be there early because I think it's going to be a sellout.
Yes. And also, since you mentioned Twitter, can you remind our listeners what you want to do with Gouge?
I want to get the Gouge. Hashtag get sign guy into Gouge. It's my only dream in life. The only one I've got. People be tweeting and retweeting. I encourage everyone to just hashtag it like crazy. Hashtag get sign guy into Gouge. Tweet at Gouge Pro. Huck, I thought you were going to talk to the people over there at Gouge. Get me into this. Did we lose Huck?
Well, I'm not sure.
What's up? I'm sorry, guys. What did you say? I'm sorry. I was distracted.
I understand. I was saying I thought you were going to get hashtag get sign guy into Gouge into reality. I've not been contacted by the promoters there at Gouge.
Look, man, I'm talking to the heavyweight champion, Timmy Lou Retton, who's a really good friend of mine and stuff, man. You know as well as I do that the wheels of professional wrestling turn very, very, very slow.
All right. Well, since you mentioned Timmy Lou Retton, I think he's going to be booked here for Intense Championship Wrestling in Marion, Indiana, pretty soon. Maybe
yes, he is.
In July, I think, maybe.
Yes, he is, and I'm putting out a hit on Troy Miller and Drew Skills.
Well, and also I saw something about Joe Black might be at Indie PopCon. Your good buddy and partner Joe Black. Why aren't you riding up with either of these guys? Are you afraid of Drew?
No, I might ride up to Indie PopCon. But now, especially with me, Joe, and Tim, it's like because of the success with AWE and a couple of other promotions that we're a part of and stuff, we are so many different places at so many different times. And I mean, it's really good for the brand that we're trying to put together and stuff, that we are being spread apart, that we're working different companies on the same weekend and stuff.
Okay.
One time, Joe might be in Indiana and I'll be in West Virginia or in Jersey. And at the same time, Tim will be in Maryland. So it's really good that our brand, that the brand that we're actually talking about putting together and stuff, that we're able to spread out and spread the gospel, so to speak, for lack of a better way of putting that and stuff. But you never know. I might just, if I don't have anything super important to do, I might just show up at Indie PopCon with Joe and take Drew out myself.
Well, he will be there with his tag team partner Apollo Star, so should be pretty awesome. I think that they are taking on the Headbangers at that event, so it should be great. So what I did this past weekend, I had an awesome show. Not me personally, I did all right, but All Star Pro Wrestling had a great event in Shelbyville, Indiana. The main event was electric. Well, let me tell you about the semi-main. It turned into a tag team match with the chairman Joey Owens tagging with Big Time Josh Lewis. Dude, that's a guy that we need to get on here soon, Big Time Josh Lewis, taking on the All-Star Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion, Big Country Clint Poe, and his surprise partner was none other than Drew Skills. And at the end of the match, Poe and Drew won, but right before the ending, Poe accidentally speared Drew. So after the match, he wasn't happy about that. So Drew picked up the 285-pound Big Country Clint Poe and did the Drew drop on him 3 times, laid him out. So that was awesome. The semi-main, and then the main event. It was so cool. I was in there in the middle of the ring getting to announce the 2-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, 3-time WWE Tag Team Champion, 2-time and current NWA World Tag Team Champion Rob Conway, and his opponent was hometown hero Dylan Bostic. So hometown boy made good, and that guy is going to be on TV sooner rather than later. He's a phenomenal talent. It was a really cool event, and I was very happy. I was very proud to be able to be part of that. So that was very cool. Also, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking with American Kickboxer, Rip Rogers was just hanging out back there. Flash Flanagan was the new general manager of the promotion, and it was a very cool night that I got to be a part of. So I was very happy to be part of that. This coming Friday, I've got WCWO at 1151 South Kentucky Avenue at the Outlaw Arena. Should be great. I haven't been there in a couple weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. And then Saturday night, I'm going to a pre-race party, and then on Sunday, leaving the house at no later than 6 a.m. to go to the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. So it should be a great weekend.
Now, here's a trivia question for you, Drew. Do you know what was the scariest moment in professional wrestling that the new All-Star Pro Wrestling Commissioner Flash Flanagan has ever seen?
Well, Drew is off the call, so I'll go ahead and answer. Is it when you dented the cement with your face?
It actually is, yes.
I'm not shocked. That was down at HPW, where Flash has been working for a very long time. So, yes. Did he pick you up and put you in the helicopter?
He did not, but he's told me repeatedly since then it was the scariest moment in his career, keeping in mind the man made a career out of death matches in Puerto Rico and was a hardcore champion multiple times in OVW. He's seen some scary, scary incidents.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Right, we will be having our next guest, the New Age Dracula, Kindred Kymari, will be joining us very shortly. Quick thoughts from the weekend, from professional wrestling. My MVP of the weekend was Seth Rollins, him coming back and stealing the show at the end of the pay-per-view, the special event, and then having a good showing on Monday night. He was my MVP of the weekend. Will, Incredible Huck, who's your MVP of the weekend?
Oh, man, I would say, I'm kind of at times between Seth Rollins and with his return and Enzo Amore. Maybe so much, and with Enzo, it's not so much, his return, but what he was wearing during his return. I'm going to have to, for throwback purposes, I'm going to have to give the nod to Enzo Amore with the show. If anybody's ever seen the movie The Last Dragon, I'm going to have to give him the nod with the show enough attire. I totally popped for it as soon as he came out.
All right, that reference went completely over my head.
Have you never seen that movie, Zane?
I don't get it. No, I don't know it.
You're gonna have to watch. That's your homework. If I have to watch Game of Thrones, you're gonna have to watch the movie The Last Dragon.
No, you don't have to watch Game of Thrones, but just how can my homework is think about how WWE can be that big of a pop culture phenomenon again. So that's all it is. Sign Guy, who's your MVP of this past weekend?
To be fair, I'm halfway through the pay-per-view. I watched half of it, have the last half yet to do. But just based on watching Raw in the first half of the pay-per-view, factoring in some independent things, I'd say the MVP probably, I'd say AJ Styles, because he not only was in the main event of another pay-per-view, he was in a huge segment on Monday Night Raw. Looks like he's going to continue to be a big-time player. And a couple of years ago, who would have thought AJ Styles would have been this big of a factor in a WWE ring so quickly? He's been put in the main event or semi-main event since he started, and he's looking to stay there. I think he gets the nod from me.
Well, one of my friends actually posted a question on social media saying, we can't really call him a jobber even though he loses all the time, but, he hasn't won any big matches. AJ hasn't really won any big matches. I think there was that one on Raw where he became the number one contender, but yet he's on the main event, 2 consecutive pay-per-views, heavily featured in Raw. And so what do we call him? And I said, we call him a draw. He draws money for the company. What are there any other words that you guys would use to describe him right now?
Phenomenal.
Well, that's another good one. How about you, Will?
Class timeless, I guess. I don't know, classic. I don't know, man. Phenomenal just doesn't do him justice. He's legitimately like Johnny Walker. As good as he was when he was younger stuff, he is so much better now than he was even last year. Does that make sense?
Sure.
He like the quality of matches, and he's doing so much less now than he was. And when I say he's doing so much less, I mean inside of a match, he's doing so much less now than he was even 6 months ago. But his matches are so, in my opinion, are so much better. That you just gotta compare. You just gotta. I don't know if you can say the word vintage or classic, or I have no words to describe him. But something along those lines.
All right. Well, we should be hearing from our next guest, Kindred Kymari, real soon. This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the AngryMarks podcast network, where you can listen to all of your favorite professional wrestling and mixed martial arts podcasts. The way I do it is I have the podcast app on my iPhone, and I looked up AngryMarks, all one word, AngryMarks, and hit the subscribe button, and it's delivered to my phone every single day. On Mondays, we've got the Raw Reaction. Tuesdays, obviously, we have the Undisputed Wrestling Show. Wednesdays, we have Glove Up or Shut Up. On Thursday, we have Thursday Night AMP. Friday, Tuesday after us, we've got the Impact Implosion. Fridays, we have Over the Top Radio. And then on the weekends, we've got the SmackDown Rundown. Killer Kev, anything going on at Angry Marks that our listeners need to be aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right.
I will give this plug though. If you have any interest at all in New Japan Pro Wrestling, then Thursday Night AMP for the last few months, we have started to give more focus to covering New Japan on a weekly basis. They have recently started their Best of the Super Junior tournament, and we have the first night results posted in a podcast that went up Sunday morning, hosted by the Great Sudoku and Abby Arthur. So if you are interested in learning more about this grand tournament that New Japan holds every year, please tune in and listen to it, and listen on Thursday night AMP as well for the latest going-ons with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Now, does the winner of the Super Junior, Best of the Super Junior, get an automatic title shot or anything at Wrestle Kingdom?
Yes, they will.
Okay. All right. Sounds groovy. I
have a question, Killer Cav. Did you happen to watch the episode of Wrestling with Regret that came out today?
No, I have not.
It might be of interest for you. He took his top 8 reasons why New Japan will not be able to compete with WWE in the United States. Kind of compelling. Some of the points I agreed with, some of them I did not. But it might be a thing of interest to you to check out.
Alrighty. I will have to do that then. But I must say, for 999 yen, I feel like I'm getting a better wrestling value out of that than I am WWE Network right now. So it's not an expensive option to go watch it. And if you're a fan of Strong Style, if you're a fan of Puroresu, if you just like watching good, strong wrestling that doesn't need a complicated storyline or 30 minutes of promos in order to understand what's going on, you might like it.
Now, on the New Japan World, they don't have English commentary, though, right?
It depends on the show. Some of them they do, and some of them they don't. Some don't even have any commentary at all. It's just like 2.5 hours of just watching wrestling just like you were sitting in the crowd.
Okay. All right. Cool. Some other big news while we're waiting for our guest. Cody Rhodes asked for his release, and it was granted over this past weekend. Will, what did you think about that?
I was so... when I first heard the news, I was completely shocked. I couldn't believe it because Cody Rhodes is such a great talent. And he's come from such a great lineage of professional wrestling. And then after, like most people and stuff, I read his tweet, his very long tweet and stuff. I completely understood why he asked for his release and, for the lack of a better part, why it was granted. It's such a shame that, because me myself, I personally like Cody Rhodes. I liked him actually better when he was doing the whole paper bag gimmick. When he was coming out with his face that got broken or whatever, his nose got broken, and he had a protective mask, and they were going up in paper bags to the fans. That was probably my best or my favorite Cody Rhodes incantation or gimmick or whatever. Completely saddened by the fact that he felt that he had already hit the glass ceiling. I don't think that we had seen a third of the talent that he has. It was just a shame that now in today's business and stuff that you're at the mercy of somebody in an office or at a computer, and if they can't think of something for you to do, then they'll put you in some meaningless match on some C-rated show, or they'll bury you down in NXT, or like Cody Rhodes, they'll just, hey, pinch your face up like your brother, and we'll see how that works. I really wish they would just gave him the ball and let him run with it. He not only is he great technically, he was great as far as, I felt like he was really good as far as promos went. And like I said, I don't think we've seen even close to half of the potential that he has. Hopefully, he will, with the way the wrestling world is and stuff, man, hopefully we'll see him, maybe not in TNA, but we'll see him in ROH, or hopefully we'll see him in New Japan, or maybe he'll go to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla or Dragon Gate or something, and build his stock back up, and then come back to WWE, worth twice as much as he is now.
Sign Guy, what were your thoughts about Cody Rhodes?
I wasn't terribly shocked that he asked for his release. What did shock me was before he was totally free and clear. He put the writers on blast. Didn't seem like it was too in line with his character to put the company on blast like that. So I don't know if there'll be a lot of repercussions or not, but I can see where he'd be frustrated. I can see where he may not feel that's the proper fit for him now, but to put the company on blast when he's not totally free and clear to go somewhere else just yet and hurt his total drawing ability. He may not be able to make quite as much now since he's not going to be as fresh out of the WWE as he could have if he'd gone straight to another company like Ring of Honor or New Japan, what have you. And I believe I saw that his wife also asked for a release and was granted that. So I don't know where that will leave Goldust. He wasn't on television the last couple of shows, so could be kind of an awkward thing for his brother.
I hadn't heard that yet. Why don't you guys talk real quick about what you think that they'll be doing next, or what he'll be doing next, because you did mention ROH, New Japan. What do you think would be the best thing for him? Sign guy, I'll kick it to you first.
I would say his best bet. Are we talking as far as creatively, or as far as him earning a decent living?
Either way.
I'd say probably his best bet, if we're talking his ability to make a good living and earn as much as he can, I would say New Japan probably would be able to pay him more. And I can see him adapting to that type of style pretty quickly. As far as creatively and having the best fit for his style, probably I would say TNA, because he can still do a lot as far as gimmicks go. We saw him do Stardust, I thought, brilliantly. Apparently he did not enjoy that, but I think he did a good job with what he had. So I think he can either do the serious wrestling, which seems like what he wants to do, or he can do some type of gimmick, entertainment type of thing. And TNA kind of runs the gamut on both of those. So I think creatively that might be the best outlet for him.
Okay. Producer Killer Kev has confirmed that Brandy Rhodes, otherwise known as Eden Styles, is still with the company. Right now on the Undisputed Wrestling Show, we have the New Age Dracula, Kindred Kymari. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. Since you're a first-time guest with us, tell us a little about how you got into the world of professional wrestling and where you did your training.
Oh, I did my stuff a lot of places. Me being from where I'm in, I started out like back in 2007, 2008, at that time frame. We had trained a lot with Sanjay Dutthouse. We did a bunch of stuff, last stature and all that stuff. But we did camps and stuff like that too. I did most of my training down at Gilbert's wrestling school, and for a while, and that's pretty much how I got started. Basically, my friend found a piece of paper saying, let's try being a wrestler. And I said, well, I want to do it my whole life anyway, so let's try it out. I think I'm the one that stuck with it. He kind of wanted to give up, so.
Well, what drew you to it? Just your friend's love for it, or?
No, I was a fan of it all my life, you know what I'm saying? So I just needed the right information to kind of get where I need to go, So once we found out a little information, I was like, cool, now I know where to go, you know what I'm saying?
So you are the 2016 ACW King of Maryland. What was that tournament like?
It was a very cool tournament for us. It's what we have annually, and we have it to really pretty much promote the next generation of stars in wrestling, you know. And this one was real personal to all of us because we had lost Reggie Rivers with Prodigy, and we wanted to give a show back, you know, to show like his honor for the show. But it's actually Prodigy would have been one of the guys, I'm sure, I would have faced in the tournament. I would have beat him anyway, but you know, but yeah, that was a bit like a little cool for me to have him beat him, so I can kind of rub it in his face. But that's usually our big show, one of our big shows of the year at ACW. So we're starting to do a lot of big things. We got a lot of big shows and stuff coming up, new stuff coming up for ACW. So it was a real exciting year for us.
Well, that's awesome. I am going to kick it over to Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment star, the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee. What do you have for the New Age Dracula?
My first question is this, Kindred, is that, you know, especially nowadays, you know, the supernatural, the vampires, werewolves, you know, things like that, with the exception of comic book heroes and stuff, is making a huge boom. And you've been doing, you know, you've been a vampire for a long time. Are you really now, with movies like Twilight and other things and stuff, and the show Supernatural, are you really starting to see an increase, you know, in fan appreciation, gimmick sales, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, first of all, never mention Twilight around me because that's not a vampire movie.
Well, I can't. Look, don't tell my 9-year-old that, okay?
Hey, I'm sorry to break her dreams, but that's not vampire. You know? But I mean, nowadays it's everything I do is a part of me. You know what I mean? From the way I look, to the things I say, the way I come out, the way I do my thing, all that's me. You know, I have a very vast mind to the supernatural. So even experiences myself, with the whole supernatural thing, I have experience with that too. You know what I mean? I have knowledge of that too. You know what I mean? That's the way that I, you know, live my life anyway. Now there's things I'm going to do to kind of like, you know, add a little more spice here and there because I have to because I'm me. But you know, all that stuff there is opening the door for a lot of things. But if people aren't really buying into what we're doing because it doesn't look real, then, you know what I'm saying, why should we make any more things? But like vampires will always be around. That's just the way we are. You know, we're around for centuries. You know what I mean? So I mean, either we grow or we don't grow. And, you know, for me personally, being a vampire, I would like to see how far vampires will extend themselves. So, you know.
Now, I was gonna say, you know, man, I've watched and I've watched and I've looked at your Facebook page and stuff, man, and I have to say that, you know, your profile pics, your pic, whatever you want to call it, your pictures, whatever, are some of the most creative I've seen, especially on the indies in a long time. You know, with a lot of guys, you know, just them standing from a backdrop and then they make a couple poses or whatever. And with you, with your pictures and stuff, it really, your character, who you are really comes out in those pictures. When you are posing for these pictures, when you get ready to these photo shoots or whatever, how much of the creative control is you, and how much of it is somebody, you know, giving you an idea of saying, hey, just do this, do that, do this?
Well, I mean, I try to be really respectful to whoever's doing photos with me or with me. But I mean, either way, it's the reason why I do what I do, because I believe that if your gimmick is something that you are, why not reflect it all the time? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be like going and wearing a suit all day and stuff like that. But like I say, like, if you're gonna do it, you know, do it. You know what I mean? In regards to like the creative control system, this is basically like if I have an idea, if I tell, hey, I want to do this, I want to try this out, you know what I'm saying? They're more likely to go for it, you know what I mean? On the other range, it's pretty much the same thing too, but like it all depends on, you know, what kind of idea the photographer might have, or if you have an idea, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, you can kind of work with them, you work with you, sometimes you kind of scratch it. It just depends on how you want yourself to present it. Because Al Snow said, he said, always watch how you're presented to other people because that's how they're going to pay your money. You know what I mean? So we doing all that stuff. Is even in the match, I can act real goofy and stuff like that because I'm kind of goofy in a way. But at the same time, it's, you know, when it's game on time, it's what it is. You know, we're all in this whole thing to kind of be the best. We're trying to outdo each other. You know what I mean? Let's be real. And I'm not gonna let anybody upstage me. So I want the good pictures. You know what I'm saying? I want the good stuff. So when you see me, it's like, oh, this guy is cool, but this guy right here, you know what I mean? That's cool shit. You know.
Now and now this whole, you know, the New Age Dracula is more than just the pictures. It's more than your Facebook statuses. And with all respect to the names I'm about to mention, you know, you are so totally different than Gangrel or Kevin Thorne and a lot of other wrestlers with similar personalities, I guess you could say, to yourself. You're such a big guy, but you're so agile. Watching your matches, you're not only big and you're imposing and stuff, and to admit, you know, you're kind of offsetting. You know, I wouldn't want to walk down a dark alley and see you on the other end of this damn alley.
That's not a good idea.
but you're so, but to be for a guy your size, you really move around that ring and stuff. What do you say when guys look at you and they assume that you're gonna be a big brawler, just throw guys around and stuff? And next thing you know, man, you're going 100 miles an hour in the ring and you're keeping up with these smaller guys.
Well, one thing about me is that you always get something different, and because I like to challenge myself with not just wrestling. I like to challenge myself with life. I like to challenge myself with what I did in my last match, or maybe I could do it better this time. You know what I mean? Or I'm always studying my own stuff and like seeing what I did wrong or what I can improve. And me being in the business, I always want to be different from everybody. You know what I mean? And I said, well, this is the way I can actually do it, but I have to make the presentation suitable for them to be like, okay, now I like this. Because when you look at me, you're already going to think, well, this is probably a regular black dude with dreadlocks and shit. And then, like, you're going to go on there and you can be like, oh, yeah, you can be doing a typical, you know, black guy thing. You know, I like girls and cars and all that other shit. But then you see me, you're like, oh, we wasn't expecting that. That's what I wanted. You know what I mean? And for me, being that I call myself, like, New Age Dracula, the reason why I gave myself that name, because my following is in, like, it's infectious right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's crazy how we have so many people who are just really behind the name of Vampire. And we're doing all this stuff. And even though my VCA is a team that we're building, it's like there are people who's following these people. Now my followers are getting huge. And Dracula was the main point of Vampires. If you know you killed all Dracula, you was like the man. You know what I mean? So in my view, you know what I mean, I've done away with Dracula. This is my version of Dracula, you know what I'm saying? And that's basically leading people the right way, you know what I mean? And putting that stuff, the right stuff, in the head of knowledge, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, you get this real agile character. Because I used to play basketball and I ran around. I was very active when I was a kid. And then, like, I did martial arts too, so that always helped my, you know, my expertise per se. And, like, even in this, I always be like, there's nothing I can't do. So in my mind, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm stubborn. But even if I can't, like, see it in my whole vision, I'm going to try it. You know what I'm saying? And if it goes south, then oh, well, I'll scratch it. You know what I mean? But I'm very, you know, different. And that's just the way I like to categorize it.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely different. Speaking of different, I'm going to pass the mic to Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee. And believe it or not, Kindred, he actually said it on this show last week. Sign Guy, what do you have for the New Age Dracula?
Well, first of all, thanks for being on the show this week. And you mentioned being into martial arts. There's been a lot of wrestlers over the years that incorporated martial arts into professional wrestling. Were you a fan of that particular style of professional wrestling at all?
Yeah, I mean, once like I saw guys like Steve Blackman, and then he had like Shamrock come in, and then it was like they were letting more of the mixed martial arts guys, and I was like, oh, this would be interesting. Like I was already studying Taekwondo at the time anyway, so I was like, looking how they do stuff there and how can I add it into what I'm doing. Even now, like I look at different types of MMA guys. Like my favorite guy, I'll say about now is John Jones. You know what I'm saying? Besides McGregor, you know what I mean? I like John Jones. DC's okay, cool. I kind of live with DC. He's all right too. But like John Jones is my man. You know what I mean? So like I always try to kind of get into how I can add more stuff to my because like, you know what I mean? You got nowadays you have to be like either big, you know what I mean, do like some type of flippy stuff or like, find something that makes them, stick to you now because it's so hard to work the crowd in some places. You know what I mean? Because nowadays their expectations of us are so high. You know what I mean? So if you don't reach that bar, you would know it. You know what I mean? But martial arts it didn't really like I'll say wow me in wrestling until like I got more into my art and then I started to kind of see it. You know what I mean?
Who would you count as the inspirations for what you do in professional wrestling? Who did you look for as far as kind of patterning yourself after, maybe not exactly, but just borrowing from their style of matches or their style of interviews or style of their gimmick?
Well, that's a lot of things that kind of inspire me to do what I do. Of course, when you look at me, you can tell that, one of my guys I had who inspired me, I'll say like that, would be like The Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? The reason why is because I liked how he presented his gimmick to it. You know what I mean? His psychology was there. His looks was there. Like when I first saw him, I believed that guy was dead. You know what I mean? And for me, I was like, well, if I do something, I have to kind of stick away from what people would think I do and do something where they would never expect me to do it. You know what I'm saying? And get it over. You know what I mean? Like, I have dads and, you know what I mean? I looked up my biggest aspirations myself. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I did because I want to prove to myself that I started this. This is what I want to do and make the best out of it. You know what I'm saying? I got a 5-year-old, you know what I mean? And I always want my kid to know like who his father is and was, you know what I'm saying? So he would never question, what I did to kind of, do what I do. And that's the kind of thing that kind of keep me going. You know, my son's a really big part of my life. And when I try to put that in between, so like honestly, I didn't really have like a very big childhood. We kind of used what we had. Sometimes we didn't have nothing. You know what I mean? So coming up from all that and eating the worst sandwiches and stuff like that because we had nothing pretty much to eat. But all that I use that as a motivation to say to myself, one day I'm gonna get this guy, and this guy's gonna be the best thing in the world, and nobody can duplicate what I do. That's why I'm me. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I do to inspire myself, or if anybody inspires me, I'm like my biggest inspiration there. So.
Well, Huck mentioned, Kevin Sullivan likes my referee work, and, I appreciate that. But on shows you've been on in the recent months, who are some of the referees that you've worked with directly that you think promoters should use more on their shows?
Well, the best referee I always say would be my man D. Edwards. He's in WWE right now. I'm real proud of him for that. But if anybody else, I would have, let's see, that's a good question, man. There's one guy I know, his name's Joey, but he works, I don't know if he's still doing his referee thing anymore. He was really good. Our HW ref is pretty good too. He did a really good job refereeing the whole last show by himself, so he'll get some brownie points for that. I could say you too, man. Yeah, I haven't seen you, but I think we probably got some trust in you. It's like Kevin Sullivan, like you, man.
Well, I'm trying there. But at this point, I'm going to pass you back over to the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley.
All right, we are on with the New Age Dracula, Kindred Kymari. Kindred, you said something earlier about the VCA. Can you tell us about the Vampire Community Alliance?
That's my creation, kind of. I was at a meeting with George Burkett before we started VCA, and he gave me the idea. You know, I was like, hey, why don't we just make a group? You know, we can kind of do this. You call all your vampire friends. I'll get some guys. We can all do some big work. And I was like, before I was, you know, I ain't trying to really be with that because, you know, I'm dabbling by myself. You know, I've been a singles guy for a while. I'm pretty fine, but I don't need a group, you know. But then I started thinking about it. I said, well, maybe we got something here. You know what I mean? So I made the Vampire Community Alliance as a way of humans and vampires can coexist and actually make teams in the world. We're actually really influential in wrestling right now. So we're just getting started with a lot of stuff. See, people think that VCA is just wrestling. No, we're more than that. You know, where we have our own brand, and we're doing more promotional videos. We got film work we're trying to get done and stuff like that. So even besides the wrestling, that's what we do. But the object behind the VCA is the fact that we are showing the world that humans and vampires, normal and different people, could actually work together and actually do something big, you know. And by me being a leader of it, it gives them more of a boost. You have George Burkett, you have Moneymaker EH, you have John Cole. He's a big roster powerhouse, you know what I mean? And I know him for years. And you have Johanna Lang, you know, the Vamp Queen and everything we have. And I just got the Gunners under my VCA. So they're like one of the best tag teams in the Indies, you know. So when I was scouting the guys, I knew I had to get somebody that could be a team, and I could take the, you know, tag division too. Why not? You know, because I'm gonna take the World Division by storm. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Now I need them to kind of flourish too, because I didn't want to be the only person in this thing, like you know, making moves and doing things. That's all guys who have potential, and with the things I go through and stuff, I put myself through, and the things I learn, I'll pass down to them. You know, so we all can learn from each other, and that's the thing about BCA. It's always about upbringing. You know what I'm saying? Making royalty, because you are, and then going out into the world and making the world want you. That's what we do, you know.
Awesome. Well, how can our listeners follow your career? I know that you've got a couple different Facebook pages. Can you tell them about those? And if you have Twitter, Instagram, any of that stuff? Yeah,
actually, if you want to follow me, it's Kindred Kymari on Facebook. It's Kindred New Age Dracula on Instagram, and I have a Twitter. It's Kindred Kymari on Twitter too. You can find me on all that. I have a YouTube page. It's under Kindred Demon Vampire when you go on YouTube. I have a playlist. My playlist has my matches, my themes that I use. We have actually VCA TV where we do all the VCA productions and graphic work on that one playlist, so you can kind of watch and see what we're doing and stuff like that. So, and the upbringing of the films and stuff, we have put it all on VCA TV. So, get a subscribe to my page and, you know, have fun with it. You know what I mean? Share if you like. I don't care. Comment if you like. It's there for you. So, it helps make me better, so I know what people are looking at, not looking at. I get the idea, you know, what people like to see and stuff like that. And we do skits and stuff, so we can kind of make, you know, different stuff people enjoy to watch. So my Facebook is there. You can't miss me. So once you're on my page, you know that you're on my page. So.
Well, what do you have to? Do you have any upcoming shows coming up?
Yeah, I have 302 next month. Also have ACW next month. Actually, it's me and Ruckus for the ACW championship. So, and I'm really looking forward to that because I can get my belt back, because it's been about 2 years since I had that ACW championship. So I think it's time for that belt to come on home right to the right spot, you know.
Well, that sounds great. What do you have to say to your listeners or your fans before we have to let you go?
3 words. Less blood.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time with us tonight. We look forward to talking with you again.
All right, man. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Before we go, I do want to give an update. As we were talking, WWE did grant Eden Styles, or Brandy Rhodes, her release from the WWE. So she is gone after today.
Well, that's a shame. but I guess we should have seen that coming.
Well, I think she did a really good job as a ring announcer, and she's a gorgeous woman. So I know that Cody and Brandy will be able to do great things here in the future without the WWE. So it should be interesting. You never know. Maybe we'll get him here on the Undisputed Wrestling show here soon. But I'm interested to hear him tell his story. So next week we've got another amazing show. We've got Rory Fox in the second hour, and in the first hour, our main eventer, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke. Should be a great episode. Once again, I will be at WCWO in Indianapolis, Indiana on Friday, and doing some ring announcing for them. Sign Guy, give another plug for Piper Palooza 2.
This coming Sunday, 6 p.m. bell time, 7611 North Exeter, corner of Lombard and Exeter in Portland at the North Portland Eagles. Piper Palooza 2, we're going to be celebrating the life of Rowdy Roddy Piper, second annual event, Kevin Sullivan's debut in the state of Oregon. Roddy Piper was a very, very close friend of his, so I know this show means a great deal to Kevin Sullivan. I'm looking forward to it. Been a few weeks since I've been down to Portland. Going to throw back on the stripes, and should be a great time.
All right, and Will, give us what you got going on this weekend.
Oh, yeah, this weekend, Saturday, Cornelia, Georgia, Wally Wrestle. Going to be right there at the Church of Southern Wrestling in Cornelia. Me and my buddy Joe Black in the first round of the Wally Wrestle Tag Team Tournament for the newly crowned or newly made Wally Wrestle Tag Team titles. And then Sunday, RWA at Johnny and June's. It's a really cool bar and stuff in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Come watch me beat up on former WCW star, the Maestro, now known as the Stro. Watch me put those hands on him. He was one of the first actual guys that I met when I first broke into the business and stuff. And so I owe him some payback.
All right, all of our listeners, thank you for indulging us with a little bit of Game of Thrones talk, and we really appreciate it. And happy Memorial Day to everybody. Be safe out there, and remember to think about our fallen soldiers. So for Drew Skills, for Sign Guy, for Will Huckabee, for Killa Kev, for our awesome executive producer, the Prophet Rick Craig, have a fantastic weekend. Bye.